All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Learning Sound and Synthesis Spotlight Series interview. I'm so happy to be here today with Jessica. We're going to be getting into some of my absolute favorite topics, things like how to embrace and what happens when you embrace more playfulness in your learning journey with the world of synthesis. We're just going to also be talking about Jessica's experience discovering new sound worlds and new directions in her musical practice over the last few months. So I'm really excited to get into it. Thank you to everyone who's here live. Welcome. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Sarah. I'm an experimental musician and an educator who focuses on teaching sound synthesis and sound design using modular synths. This series is something that I've been running on and off for quite a while now, and it's a spotlight series focused on the students and the alumni from my synthesis class, Learning Sound and Synthesis. And it's a really special series because the whole point of it is to celebrate the students in the class, celebrate the work that they're doing, the accomplishments that they're having, and also to share a little bit behind the scenes and a little bit of insight into what it can look like learning synthesis, learning sound design, and hopefully to help some of you who might be watching, who might be curious about what it means to kind of get started in this world, to help connect some of those dots for you. So thank you for being here. Let's jump in. Jessica, can I volley over to you maybe to give us a quick introduction to who you are and what kind of music you like to make?
Sure. So my name is Jessica, and I teach assistive technology by day, so I'm already quite techie. And I also studied to be a recording engineer many moons ago. I have always been drawn to sound and technology and things of that nature. I have played the piano for about 20 years. I also had a brief stint for 5 years where I played the pipe organ and played classical music. And now I play in a rock band. I create solo music. I sometimes perform cover tunes, but I've also been getting into more experimental soundscapes and ambient type music. So I am the type of person who likes to try lots of different things and dabble in various different media.
I love that. Yeah, I love how diverse your creative work is. I think it's really inspiring. Okay, thank you. So, can you maybe just help paint a little picture for us? What piqued your curiosity around synthesis? Like, why did you feel that that was a direction you wanted to go?
Well, back when I was learning about recording engineering, we were sort of very briefly introduced to synthesis, like the early modular synthesizers. It was sort of presented as analogous to once upon a time, computers filled a room. And also, once upon a time, synthesizers filled a room as
Right.
well. And so that part of history was explained a little bit to me, and it was very apparent that one could start with something very simple, like a very simple waveform, a sawtooth wave, a square wave, a sine wave, and could turn it into something that moves and is very dynamic and could be something completely full of different facets and different attributes that would change with time. And that was very fascinating that one could create something that complex out of something so simple.
Oh, I feel like you hit the nail on the head in terms of one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with sound synthesis too. It's just like you're starting with these simple waveforms, these simple building blocks of sound, and the way that you combine them together and the way that you make them move over time, it can breathe so much life into them. I mean, it can make them so expressive and surprising. It's so much fun. So yeah, I'm completely with you on that. Okay, amazing. So I'm curious to know a little bit. I want to dig in a little bit into your experience learning synthesis. For some people, it's a really easy process. They jump right in, and it's just it's exciting and new, and everything is a lot of fun, and they just dive right in. For other people, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging. There can be some bumps in the road, and I think it's important to talk about both sides of that, experience, just to help people feel supported in their journey, no matter how it goes for them. So I'm curious, for you, did you have any maybe hesitations when you were jumping in, or any fears around getting started? Or for you, was it like a let's go, I'm so excited to learn this, or maybe a bit of both?
I would say it was a little bit of both, because back when I was studying recording engineering, that was probably 15, 20 years ago, and instruments, hardware and software, certainly were not as accessible as they are now, meaning that they were not as readily available. I just remember having a time in my life where I was curious about synthesis, but not really being able to dive in and try it out. And now we have DAWs that folks can use at home. We have endless choices of software synthesizers, sometimes abbreviated as soft synths. We have VCV rack. We have all sizes and shapes of hardware instruments, whether they're pre-wired, whether they're patchable. There are just so many choices of how folks can dive in and start playing around today that we didn't have back then. And I would say that my very recent foray into synthesis started about 3 or 4 years ago. And I've been using Reaper as my DAW, or digital audio workstation. And I have been playing around with an open source soft synth called Surge XT. And it, at the time, appeared somewhat semi-modular in architecture, in that you have very flexible route of what you could send to what. You could send, you had so many different LFOs. You could modulate the filter, or something about the pitch of the oscillators, or different other aspects of how fast the sequencer ran. And I was finally able to start trying out a whole variety of different timbres and ways to make them change and move with time. And then I started getting into different online communities where people would give suggestions about what to do. So, for instance, if you use one envelope to modulate the volume and another envelope to modulate the filter, you can create a sound that not only gets louder as it comes in, but also brighter as it comes in. I mean, that's, pretty much a basic thing that folks can do when they're first trying it, and various different aspects of approaching it. That eventually led me around to getting deeper into using other ways to make things change over time.
I love that. Okay. So yeah, it was, I want to echo a couple of the things that you said. There can be, in the past, getting started with synthesis, exactly like you said, Jessica, was the tools were not very accessible at all, because you would, the instruments were, only in fancy studios, or only at universities, or if you had them at home, they would be sometimes prohibitively expensive, right? And not things that everyone could afford. All of these software-based instruments, Reaper is an amazing tool. VCV rack is the one we use in learning sound and synthesis. All these other tools that you mentioned, they're just so amazing. So if you're watching and you're curious about this, just know that there are ways to get in get started for free, or for a very little amount of money in terms of getting started. The software instruments are amazing. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit into maybe if you could share a couple of things that you're really proud of, a couple of accomplishments that you've had over the last few months. Could be tangible, or could be not tangible, either way, just something that you're really proud of. And then I want to get into like what happened, or what you did, or what was helpful for you to help you get to those points so that we can demystify that for other people?
So, some things that I'm really proud of, I have gotten a bit braver about putting things out there
That's
for
huge.
other people to see and hear online.
Yeah.
A lot of my VCV rack patches started out very, very simple, like just a couple modules on the screen doing a couple little noises at one time. And that's a great way to kind of focus on a few things at a time, or even one thing
Yeah.
at a time, to learn what it does. But I never in a million years would have dreamed of recording that screen and like posting it on YouTube for someone else to hear.
Yeah.
And I did that a few times for the course community. I did use the unlisted feature a few times where only people who followed the link could hear it and see it. But some of them I thought, I guess this would be okay if I make it public for the whole world to hear that I'm actually a big old synth nerd that likes to make noises in my free time.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, also, I have a few more releases on my Bandcamp than I had before. Particularly for Halloween, I made a soundscape. That one thing we talk about in the course is expanding our definition of what is music. It doesn't necessarily have to be melodic or following a typical chord progression or um, having a clear tune you can hum. This was just sounds that come and go at different times. And there was a bit of a structure in that it had three main sections, but yet I tried to make the auditory equivalent of what someone would experience if they walked through like a haunted house or they rode through like a dark ride. There would be different scenes at different
Yeah.
points. So there were different groups of sounds that came and went at different points. And also recently for the holidays, I released some light classical music cover tunes played entirely on synthesizer, kind of in the spirit of Wendy Carlos and her
Yeah.
Switched on Bach record.
I
So
love
those,
that. I was checking those out. They sound great.
yeah, those things are really great outgrowths of the course.
Yeah. So just putting yourself out there in general. I mean, congratulations on all of that, by the way. And give me a second here, everyone. I'm going to grab a link and I'm going to put the link to do my best to make this link show up in the comments, tech permitting. So I'm posting a link here, which is just where you can find out more about Jessica, listen to more of her music, things like that. So let me see if I can drop this in both places here. There we go. But yeah, congratulations on putting yourself out there. I mean, that's a big deal. And it takes a lot of, it takes a lot of courage. And I just think it's wonderful that you're doing that. And your music sounds wonderful. And I love that you're also sharing not just your finished pieces, but on your SoundCloud, you're also sharing some of your experiments and your in progress stuff as well. I think that's really kind of a fun way for people to follow along with your learning process
Right.
as it
And
unfolds.
to that end, one thing I also really liked are a couple of threads in the course community, the Beattober and the Noisevember, and now we even have a December stocking stuffers thread going. People are sharing music played on smaller hardware synths that are not Eurorack. And the
Mhm.
challenge is to get those little things out and start messing with them and see what you can come up with. And having a theme like that is also very motivating to, okay, it's all right if this doesn't come out perfect, but let's just put something together and see if I can like make some noise that fits this theme and see it would go with a set with everybody else's.
Yeah, totally. So that's a good segue, actually. Right before we started the live interview here, you and I were talking about playfulness and imperfection. Do you want to talk a little bit about how those ideas have come to play, have come to play in your learning, in your learning process within the class and just in general?
Yes, so back when I would play classical piano and would also memorize every note of a three-staff score for pipe organ and play it the same way every time and would
Right.
agonize if I messed up and would always feel bad because I was never really playing exactly in time or exactly the right notes all the time or sometimes I would hear something that sounded intuitive, but that wasn't the line that was written. So we had to stick to the line that was written. And that's
Right.
okay. There can be a lot of merit to that when we are reproducing a piece of music for historical purposes, for people that want to hear that piece, kind of like listening to a familiar song on the radio. However, it was very freeing first to have joined the rock band and play popular songs, just vamping on a simple chord progression and coming up with fills to play in the middle that seemed to fit with what everybody else was doing. And
Mm.
then to go toward making music with synthesizers where there really aren't any rules most of the time. You are mostly following the sound, for lack of a better word. You are listening to something and seeing if it captures your attention, and then saying to, or at least I am, saying to myself, okay, this is very cool. This captures my attention. Now, what else could I build around this? Like building a scene so that this item is in the foreground and is at the front of folks' attention, and there are some other maybe smaller, less attention grabbing elements in the background filling it out a bit. So you're exploring, um, you are creating something based on what captures your interest at the time. A lot of times one is improvising. They may have an idea
Mhm.
and a structure for what they want to do, but they may get an idea from something that someone else played, or a mood that they have, and they're trying to build a sound that illustrates what mood they're currently
Right.
experiencing. So many different compositional techniques like that have made it possible for me to create original music, which is something I never really thought I would do.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're definitely doing it, and you're doing it, very well. So I think that's wonderful. I love this idea of just the playfulness and the freedom that can come with this world. And I resonate with everything you're saying. Every kind of music is wonderful, and music that you do have to play back precisely, specifically the same every time, it's great too. But as a former classical musician, I can really relate to that feeling of the joy of like, wow, this can be wildly different every time. And that is okay. And not only is that okay, it's just so fun to like rediscover your instrument and rediscover the sound every time you sit down with it. For me, it's just like like a playground all the time that I love to be in. Um, Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that a lot of people can probably relate to that feeling. A little segue here that I want to just mention briefly, and then I want to pass back over to you, Jessica, to kind of wrap up with anything that you might want to share to anyone listening. For those of you who have been tuning in here, if you're interested in getting started with synthesis, I have a couple of things that I just want to tell you about really briefly. One of them, if you're brand new to the world of synthesis, sound design, and modular, and you're just like, what is all of this about? I have a free class that is a really good place to get started. It's a free mini course. It uses VCV Rack, and you don't need any gear or any instruments in order to start. Okay, so I'm going to put a link up here on the screen, I think. soundandsynthesis.com/first synth patch will bring you to that free class. Soundandsynthesis.com/first synth patch. You can also send me a DM, okay, if you're not sure how to get it. Say, hey, Sarah, what was that link again? Can you send it over to me? And that's a really great way to get started. And then for those of you who are ready to just jump in, you want to join a community, you want to have more support from me as you're going deeper into your modular synthesis journey, I'm also going to really quickly put this link up on the screen, which is just soundandsynthesis.com. That will take you to the wait list for my class, Learning Sound and Synthesis, which is what Jessica is part of, the class and the community. It will open again in 2026. So there's no rush there, but you can get yourself signed up. And that will just mean that you're notified the next time that the doors open. Okay, so I want to pass back over to Jessica here. The way that I like to wrap these interviews up is basically by volleying back to you and to see, is there anything that you would like to, any insight or any advice or anything that you would just like to offer someone who might be watching, who maybe is really curious about this, but not sure, just not sure if they can do it, or not sure, if it's for them, but they've got this kind of curiosity inside of them.
Right. So, to that, I think that it's really important that a lot of times we look at our creative practice and we think of things we might want to accomplish, and they just seem like such huge, straight up cliffs or insurmountable goals. But I think the main thing that will help you all, wherever you're at in your journey, is to start with whatever you currently have, or maybe getting something for free like VCV Rack, and just taking small steps with it more days than not. So at least a couple times a week. And this is what I tell my technology students too. A few times a week or every day, at least 5 or 10 minutes a day, one can watch all the tutorials in the world. But until you actually start doing the thing, that learning is not really going to stay with you. So even more important than the best tutorials is doing the practice. And it's probably not going to be matching your aesthetics right away. I mean, some of it will be cool and fun, and it's important to have fun along the way. But the main thing is to keep at it and to do small things often until you feel like you really understand that small thing that you're doing. And then maybe try a different small thing. So for instance, if you're not sure about oscillators, just exploring, what does it mean to change pitch? What does it mean to use different waveforms? And once you get that down, maybe say, okay, what are all the different ways I can modulate or change pitch over time? What are all the different ways maybe I can use something where I can continuously change the waveform over time? Okay, now I've got that. Now I'm ready to try the next step. Maybe I'm ready to try using filters now. So making it smaller into little bite-size amounts of information and tackleable tasks and ways to approach your practice so that you get to a point where you become more comfortable and now you're ready for the next step.
So good. Such good advice, I think, for every part of life. Thank you. I really appreciate that reminder. Just take it slow, take it one step at a time. And I also really like what you said about more days than not. I think that's a big one. Even if it's 5 minutes, I think just keeping this thing that you want to learn active and fresh in your mind can go a really long way.
Right. Yeah. I find it's like inertia. Something at rest tends to stay at rest. So you might not really feel motivated if you had a busy day at work, or there's too much going on, or you're kind of tired. But if you tell yourself 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, you may find yourself doing more than that, but that's enough to get the inertia going.
Totally. Oh, that's such good advice. Thank you. I think that's a beautiful place for us. Unless there's anything else you want to say, Jessica?
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone, and I am glad to be part of the community.
Yeah, we're happy to have you in the community too. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in live. It's so good to have you here as always. The replay will be posted if you just joined and you're like, what are we talking about? The replay will be posted shortly, so just give me a few minutes to get that up. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us and for sharing your synth learning experience. Everyone, just a reminder, I shared a link to Jessica's various channels in the chat. So if you want to stay tuned and you want to see what is released next, I highly recommend that you go check that out. Subscribe on Bandcamp and on SoundCloud so that we can stay looped in. And I think that that's it. Yeah, exactly. I think that's it for now. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you at the next interview. Take care. Bye for now.